Battered by demonetization, the pandemic, and subsequent lockdowns, the Indian economy has started showing some signs of revival now. In May, the number of employed people jumped by 1 million. It resulted in a drop in the unemployment rate from 7.83% in April to 7.12% in May. Economists, however, are skeptical. Some say that it is difficult to get the real picture of unemployment from the methodology used by the Center for Monitoring Indian Economy, or CMIE. The same CMIE, however, recently conceded that more than half of the 900 million Indians of legal working age, roughly the population of the US and Russia combined, are not looking for a job at all. Amid these numbers, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday announced to give central government jobs to 1 million people in the next year and a half. In February this year, the government had told Rajya Sabha that there were over 872,000 vacant posts in central government departments as on 1st March 2020. As many as 910,153 vacancies existed as on 1st March 2019 and 683,823 as on 1st March 2018. The government had also said that the Staff Selection Commission, the Union Public Service Commission, and the Railway Recruitment Boards had recruited 265,468 people during 2018-19 and 2020-21. India is still far behind the US, China, and others in public sector employment. In 2015, there were nearly 39 million public sector employees in China. This would mean 5% of China's workforce had public sector employment. The corresponding figure for the UK in 2021 was 17%, and for the EU, it was 18%. In the US, 6.9% of the total workforce was employed in the government in 2020. This does not include state government employment. If we were to assume that state employment is 4 times that of central government and armed forces employees, India's total public sector employment would be in the vicinity of 20 million. Even after an addition of 1 million, India will still have only 2.2% of its total workforce employed in the public sector. In August of 2020, a McKinsey Global Institute report had said that India needed to generate 90 million non-farm jobs between 2023 and 2030 in order to absorb new workers and an additional 30 million workers who could shift from farm work to non-farm sectors. The report had said that to absorb this influx, India would need close to 12 million additional gainful non-farm jobs every year starting in financial year 2023. This would be triple of the 4 million non-farm jobs created annually between 2012 and 2018. The government on Tuesday also announced a major reform in how soldiers will be recruited for the Army, Navy, and Air Force by way of the new Agnipath scheme. Under the model, soldiers will be recruited from those between the ages of 17.5 to 21 years. These Agniveers will serve for 4 years. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh has said that this scheme will increase employment opportunities with new skills in different sectors. Under this scheme, most soldiers will exit the service in 4 years. Out of the 45,000 recruited annually, only 25% will be allowed to continue under permanent commission. According to one report, the model will make the permanent force levels of the country's armed forces much leaner, so its net impact on employment generation remains to be seen. As reported by Business Standard, an urban job scheme along the lines of the National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme is back in debate after a report commissioned by the Prime Minister's advisors recommended it. The report, commissioned by the Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister, has recommended such a scheme based on its assessment that a gap between the labour force participation rate in rural and urban areas is widening. The government also has an ambitious target of generating over 6 million jobs in 5 years from the production-linked incentive schemes. Meanwhile, in the private sector, employers are reporting the most optimistic hiring outlook in 8 years. Job creation is likely to see a boost in the September quarter.
This would definitely provide an immediate relief and opening up, but this would call for basically reasonably qualified and skilled people. to get absorbed in government jobs. It will make a marginal but positive impact on the overall unemployment situation. I would also like to observe that we have a rural employment guarantee scheme, but we do not have a counterpart urban employment guarantee scheme. The nature of labor in India is that it is migrating between urban and rural areas from time to time. Because urban employment is also temporary, it arises in certain seasons and so on. So in those periods where urban employment is not available, people migrate to rural areas just to take avail of the employment guarantee scheme in the rural areas. It would be far better to conceptualize a comprehensive employment guarantee scheme, which is either a separate but complementary urban employment guarantee scheme or merge the two, so that independent of the location of the unemployed people, some kind of temporary relief can be offered while people train themselves and skill themselves up in order to get absorbed in the openings that would come up. One misgiving that policymakers often have is that this may cost so much excessively that the Indian fisc may not allow this. However, we should consider that when the two schemes are operating side by side, then a lot of people who otherwise are in urban areas but claim the benefit coming back to the rural areas, all that duplication would be avoided, and therefore it would not be just a linear expansion of the rural employment guarantee scheme. And these two schemes can work in tandem and complement each other.
Even though offering an urban job scheme could have a significant impact on the central exchequer and the states, given the immensity of India's job creation challenges, is it time to bite the bullet?
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.
सब अच्छी दिख रही हैं यार, कौन सी खरीदूं?
ये तो वही बात हुई, 4000 शेयर्स लिस्टेड है, कौन सा लूं?
वो तो सबसे आसान है।
तुझे 5 पैसा नहीं पता?
अब तो सबको पता है। 5 पैसा पर है 4000 स्टॉक्स की रिसर्च, टेक्निकल टूल्स और इन्वेस्टमेंट आइडियाज। डाउनलोड 5 पैसा नाउ।
अब तो सबको पता है, investing made easy and rewarding with 5 paisa. Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.